What's up, Met fans? Welcome back. Talking Mets with Rob. How's everybody doing? Off day for our lovely, lovely New York Mets. Thank God after the debacle that we had the last three games against the St. Louis Cardinals. Last time I was live, I told you guys that the New York Mets needed to win out every series for a chance to get to 86 wins because my last video that I did about the road to 86 wins, which I believe is going to get a wild card spot, 86 wins is what I think the number will be. And the Cardinals look like the best team that's probably going to get that way, and that's the biggest problem. There you go, Cole. Sorry, I was a little busy right before my stream, so I was running around a little bit. Got my Pete Alonso free shirt the other day, last year, 2 years ago. All right, we're good now. Thanks for reminding me. So, guys, YouTube Productions, thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you enjoy the stream. We get to beat up on our Mets. That's the problem. So I said to you guys, any way to get the 16 more wins about a week ago, about right before the homestand or right before the Yankee series, that's what the Mets had to do. They had to go 16-7 to actually in the last 23 games to actually get to 86 wins at the time. So actually it was 15-7 actually. And that's not a difficult thing. It's what? Not too many games. It's what? 8-7, 8 games over 500. It shouldn't have been a lot. Santiago, how you doing, buddy? So my biggest problem is that they completely wet the bed against the Cardinals. The Cardinals were right in front of us. We had the opportunity to gain some ground on them, gain some ground on the Phillies. And 2 nights ago, everybody lost. Everybody in front of us. The Braves lost. The Phillies lost. The Reds lost. The Padres were losing and lost later on. Everybody we needed to lose lost. We would have gained the full game on every team. And at that moment, we would have been 2 games out of the wild card going into the rubber match against the Cardinals. What happens? We blow it in the bottom of the 10th. We couldn't score. And what happens next inning? The Cardinals score a couple of runs, and the Mets had no shot. Of course, they made it interesting, but Albert Almora Jr., the best hitter in baseball, decided to come up when Rojas decided to put him in besides Guillorme, which we'll talk about. Absolutely. But my God, guys, all we had to do is, even if we would have took a game, it wouldn't have been as bad as getting swept. It's bad enough we would only won 1 game, but getting swept is just ridiculous. Because then you hear Rojas after the game yesterday saying, "Oh, we're still alive." Where was this talk a week ago when you should have said that? When he never said that. Now he's saying that when we all know they're dead. 5 games out with 15 to go. Sounds a bit familiar. Remember 07, 08, or I believe it's one of those 2 years. We were 7 up with 17 to play and we blew it. I mean, I doubt it's going to happen. Like I said, nobody has been running away with the second wild card. Everybody's been losing. But the team who looks bound and ready to face the Dodgers in a wild card game is the St. Louis Cardinals, guys. And honestly, I came out of that series really liking the St. Louis Cardinals. You know what they do? They put the freaking bat on the freaking ball. That's what they do, guys. And that's exactly what I don't understand why more teams can't do that. And you see it throughout the league. But the Cardinals, yeah, they got Arenado. Yeah, they got Goldschmidt. Yeah, they got O'Neill. Big power guys. But did you see what those guys did when they needed a sac fly, when they needed the base hit? They shortened up their swing, got base hits, and that's throughout the Cardinals lineup. That's why the Mets couldn't get nobody out. It's not that the Mets were that terrible pitching. It's just that there's so many teams that are swing and miss. It's all or nothing. Look what the Cardinals did, and this is exactly what the Rays do. Even though the Rays have a big, powerful team that strike out a lot and have a lot of power, but they score a lot of their runs on situational hitting, bunting, sack flies. That's what the Cardinals do. They just been better at it. And that was the biggest takeout from the series that I had. That's crazy. And it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. And it's frustrating because everybody in this wild card is basically handing the second wild card to the Mets. The Mets were primed. The only team that had a schedule that was easy is the Cincinnati Reds. Everybody else has harder schedules. The Reds have the Pirates like 9-10 more times, if I'm not mistaken. 10 out of their next like 16 games they were against the Pirates. And the Reds can't even beat the Pirates. They're handing it to us. All we had to do was take 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals. We jump over the Cardinals. We jump over the Phillies. And now we're in prime position to take over this spot right behind San Diego or Cincinnati. And what happened? We got completely swept. It was like no contest. Game 1 was a joke. 7-0. The second game, we had an opportunity. We should have easily won that game and Baez hit this high-end home run in the 9th. I actually thought the Mets were going to win that game. I honestly did. I thought it was going to be something stupid as, like I said, yes, Lindor hit the ball hard. Absolutely. But can you get a fly ball to the outfield to score a damn run? Now, granted, you can't, do anything you can with the bat and you try to put the bat on the ball. He hit the ball hard. Goldschmidt made a nice play. Fine. But, I mean, come on, guys. Like, can we get a fly ball? I mean, it's just simple. So, and Cole, I see your comment right there. Like, that's exactly right. They were begging us to win the game. They played terrible defense at that game. They got a very good defense. But they actually were trying to give us that game. Even if we would have took one game, I would have said, all right, it would have been 4 games instead of 5 games with 15 to go. That's still manageable. But that extra game is what's going to be hard because you don't play a lot of the teams anymore that's in front of you in the wild card. The last team you play is the Phillies, and that's this next series coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you had the opportunity to have the Cardinals right in front of you playing against them and the Phillies in a week. You could have done so much damage and basically knock these guys out of the playoffs and make them 5-6 games back. And they would have been done. Now, the Phillies, who are basically neck and neck with us, this game is basically survival mode for both teams. Now, what happens if the Mets sweep the series? Well, we're going to go over that right now. So if the Mets somehow figure out a way to sweep the series, that's a joke, I know. But I'm going to get to all you guys' comments really quick. I'm just going to go over my rant, and you know the deal. I go with my rant, and I get to your comments. So if the Mets somehow figure out a way to sweep the Phillies, right? They end up at 500 again. Depending on what everybody else does, remember the Cardinals took over the top spot. I think they're a half a game ahead of the Padres and the Cardinals. I mean, the Padres and the Reds. So the bigger problem that I have is that we had the opportunity to only have to worry about jumping 2 teams, and that was the Reds and the Padres. Now we have to jump over 4. And we only play the Phillies, who's in front of us, and that's it. So now we have to rely on other teams losing again, which they were doing up until that Cardinal series where we were 3 games out. So if we sweep the series, we have to pray that the Padres still get beat. I think the Padres are done, to be honest with you. They got so many games against the Giants. I think like 7-8 games left. And then they still have the Dodgers. So I don't think they have an easy series. They still have Atlanta, who is still trying to keep the lead in the division. And I'm not worried. The Reds are the team. And now the Cardinals are the team. The Cardinals got a somewhat hard schedule, but not that hard. The Reds, obviously, like I said, have the easier schedule. So there we go. Oh, it's frustrating. So say if the Mets somehow, because you know what the Mets do. The Mets find a way to win games that just doesn't make sense. And watch what'll happen. They'll probably sweep the Phillies. And somehow these wild card teams are gonna like falter, and we're gonna be like 2 to 3 games back again with 13 or 12 to go. And then look, we got Boston, we got Milwaukee. We got teams that are just like, damn it, come on, like, damn it. And it's just so simple. Like I said, the Cardinals look like the better team, but it's not like the Mets really did play bad, except for the first game. They played bad. Even last night's game, they hit two. They could have hit 3-run home runs with Baez and Alonso, and that's 6 runs right there. Yeah, I know they scored 11 runs, the Cardinals, but at that moment, maybe the Mets could have went ahead and could have faulted the Cardinals, and maybe we would have won that game. But my God, guys, it's frustrating. I try to be pessimistic. I'm not even optimistic anymore. I'm pessimistic. Sports fans, thank you. I really appreciate it. That's the biggest problem. And I felt like this team was in the perfect spot in this Cardinal series. I felt like that big momentum after the Yankee series, which I told you they could not do. They could not play down after this Yankee series with all the emotion, the big crowds, the playoff atmosphere. You could not play down. And what did they do? They played down. They lost all their momentum, and they played like crap. They played like crap. And that's a problem. And damn it. You know what? We'll see what happens in the Philly series. The Mets have to sweep. If the Mets don't sweep, it's done. Because you're probably going to be, you're expecting the Cardinals, the Reds, and the Padres all to go lose 2 out of 3. If the Mets sweep, they knock the Phillies out. It's just that simple. And the Mets mathematically are still alive. And we hope that the Reds, the Cardinals, and the Padres all lose 2 out of 3, which I think the Padres will. I don't know if the Cardinals will, and I don't know if the Reds will. I know Cincinnati. I believe they're playing the. I'm gonna go with the schedule right now, so I can give you an opportunity, and I'll get right to your comments, guys. But I want to make sure we get the schedules right, because it's important to still know, even though everybody's really pissed off right now with this team. So, so here's the problem right here. The St. Louis Cardinals face the San Diego Padres. So somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. So the Mets going to gain ground on one of these teams. At this point, that's why it hurts. That's why it was so important to beat the St. Louis Cardinals, because they faced the Padres. And then we can root. If we would have took 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, we would have passed the Cardinals. So now we're rooting for the Cardinals to beat the Padres while we're taking on the Phillies and trying to beat them. Now, these two teams face each other, 2 teams that are in front of us. Somebody is going to win 2 out of 3. And that hurts us no matter what, no matter if we sweep. But we will go gain games on somebody. So that's why I'm saying we have to knock the Phillies out and sweep them. And then we'll see what happens with the Brewers and the Red Sox the next couple of games. So the Cardinals don't have a really tough series. Oh, actually, you know what? They actually do. They got, I guess you can call it a tough series, but they are at home against the Padres. They got 4 against Milwaukee, who might not even go crazy and play all their players because they already got the Central locked up. Then they got 4 against Chicago, 3 against Milwaukee, and then 3 against Chicago again. So the Cardinals don't have a really tough end of the road. So that's why I think the Cardinals are in prime ready position. Obviously, the Reds, they have a lot of games against Pittsburgh. They have one more game against Pittsburgh today, and then they have a very long homestand. They got the Dodgers with 3, Pittsburgh with 3, Washington with 4, and then they got the White Sox, 2 at the White Sox in Chicago, but the White Sox basically have it locked up, so they're not going to play anybody. And then they got 3 at Pittsburgh at the end of the year. So that's the problem we have right now, guys, and that's the major problem. And that's why when I talked to you guys last time when we were live, the Mets had to take 2 out of 3 at the very least. So it made that St. Louis Padres series rooting for the Cardinals to beat up the Padres so the Mets can jump over the Padres. Because if the Mets win and the St. Louis Cardinals win against the Padres, and we already beat the Cardinals 2 out of 3, they're behind us anyway, so they can't catch us at that moment. And we green ground on the Padres, and we only had to worry about the Reds. That's why this series was so important, and that's why the Cardinals were so ramped up and see them pumping their fists and going crazy in the dugout because they knew how important this series was. Clearly, the Cardinals realized it was this important series. The Mets didn't, clearly. I mean, you hear what Rojas said in his interview, which if I was there, I would strangle him. He says, he says that he put in Albert Amora Jr. because of the matchup, righty against the lefty, instead of Guillaume, who is the better hitter. And then he says, which really pisses me off, oh, this game is not more important than a game in April. Yes, it is. Yes, every game is important. That's understandable. But going into this series, you know where you stand. In April, yeah, you kind of know where you stand, but you know you have 3 months ahead, 4 months ahead of you. So at this point, you're not really going crazy. You just want to stay close enough and not bury yourself in the division. But you know where you stand with a limited amount of games, where you know you don't have a lot of margin for error. And that's what happened. That drove me freaking insane. And I know you guys, I see it in the comments, you guys are pissed off about that. You don't say that. And it just doesn't, his comments. And then if you heard, I don't know if a lot of you guys heard on Carton and Roberts today with Rojas, the answers were just robotic. It's a guy who, when Evan Roberts asked him, why didn't you keep Stroman in? He had an answer, and I'm paraphrasing here. He said, well, you know, it's not like I didn't want to. It's just that I can't. What does that tell you? That tells you he has a preconditioned list of how many pitches he can throw, how many innings he can go, and that's it. This is when it comes to the performance staff and analytics. So Rojas basically, and he sounded very pissed off. So in my opinion, I'm not going to get on Rojas on that point because he was actually going over what he was told to do in his paperwork, basically. That's basically what happened because he didn't sound too happy. And with Stroman's comments, he didn't have an answer and he seemed pissed off. So it seemed like it wasn't the player's control and it wasn't the manager's control. The two people who should have made those decisions. It was the front office and the performance team and the analytical team. That's the problem I have. Every now and then you have to use your gut. And it's just that simple, guys. So I'm going to get to your comments right now, guys. So what's up, guys? Don't forget, please hit on that like button, guys. I'll be with you until about 6:30 tonight. Just an hour, talk about the Mets, talk about how terrible they are, and the opportunity that they had against the Cardinals was really, really a big opportunity, and they blew it. And they dragged a lot of people in, including myself and probably a lot of you guys, and they basically stomped on us this series. So don't forget, guys, hit on that like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you're new to the channel, please hit on that subscribe button. If you subscribed already, I really appreciate it, guys. I know, sports fan, I know you did. I really appreciate it coming from Hayden's channel. Thank you so much, Hayden. You know you're the man. Robert Manfred, Mets are poop. I agree. Yeah, sports fan, I'm going to throw up your comment really quick because that's a really good comment. I hate to see Alderson come back. If they bring back Rojas, I will not like it. I don't know if you guys seen the report. I actually screenshotted it because I thought it was important. It said, right, let me find it really quick. No, wrong one. Okay, here we go. Nope, wrong one. I had so many screenshots that pissed me off. Let's see. Sorry, guys. Okay, so that was it. All right, so according to Sandy Alderson, there was a report out by SNY.TV that stated, and I want you guys to hear this. Nobody's going to be happy about this. Sandy Alderson said, and I paraphrase, he said, I really do think I would like to keep Rojas next year as manager if I'm still making those decisions because I feel like Rojas is going to be a good manager. Okay, fine. But then he goes to say, but it's probably going to be out of my hands with the president of baseball operations who we're going to be looking for and GM. And the owner might have something to say about that. So that's a mindset that pisses me off. And then I'm going to do a video about GM possibilities. and president of baseball operations possibilities in about a week or so, right before the season ends. Because Hector, I know you talked about. Hector, I know he talked. I know Dio really messed up a lot of the farm system, but he did that to win a World Series, and I can't get him on that. And that's what, like I said, it's not like our minor league system is really that good anyway. Like, what do we have? Maybe 3, 4 players that might be probably in the top 10 in any other big time minor league system. But I never get on a GM for trying to go all in to win a championship. Like, he did it with the Red Sox. He got those bullpen arms that he needed. The same thing with the Cubs. They got Chapman when they needed them. They gave up Gleyber Torres, their top prospect, because they needed a closer to get them over the hump. And you know what? He was successful doing that. Yes, he's not great at building a minor league system, but in all honesty, though, I would take, like, we're already having bad years anyway, even with the prospects that we had a couple of years ago when Conforto came up, Nimmo came up, McNeil came up, Alonso came up, Dominic Smith came up. How many more times are we going to use our system to bring all these guys up? That's why our system is not that good. All the guys that were in the top 15, top 20 are all on this team now. So, you can't really judge the book by its cover because, I mean, even with the prospects that come up and are on this major league team, the names I just told you, they are actually on this team and they're still losing anyway. So I'd rather a GM or president of baseball operations, whatever you want to put them in line, go all out, do what they have to do. Like, if I would have not been mad if Sandy Olson would have traded Mauricio and made a really big move, that Chris Bryant or Baez move that I talked about, where Pete Crow Armstrong and another prospect would have went to get Chris Bryant and Baez, and maybe made a crazier move and got Berrios somehow, and made big impact moves. Yes, it would have hurt our farm system, but nobody can say that Berrios' arm and Chris Bryant and Baez in this lineup. Imagine if Baez, what he's been doing, he's had better numbers than Cespedes in 2015. That's how good he's been. It's just that the rest of the team sucks. Imagine Chris Bryant, who's been very solid for the Giants, and Berrios, who's been very solid for the Blue Jays, would have made a difference when during the deadline, when the Mets are still 4 games up in the division. When you have a GM and president that are confident in this team, in your team, and says, I know what you guys need, I'm going to go out and get it, that gives the team a confidence booster saying, hey, our front office, our organization believes in us. You know what Sandy Olson did by doing nothing except for Baez? He told the team that he didn't have confidence in his team that they were any good. That's the problem. And you know what? Dio Epstein, yes, but you know what? At the time when he won the World Series with the Red Sox, you know what? Look at the farm system now. It's not perfect, but look at the guys that are up now with Devers, who is one of the best third basemen in the league. Very good. Guys like that. He got Bogarts. All them situations, they made trades, good trades, even though this wasn't Theo Epstein, they made good trades to get Verdugo here. With the Dodgers, trading Mookie Betts. And look, they traded Mookie Betts, one of the best players in baseball, yet they weren't even expected to do anything this year. And they have a chance to make the playoffs this year when nobody thought the Boston Red Sox were going to be any good. And yes, that have a lot to do with Theo, but a lot of these guys that they have up on this team are guys that were in their farm system, including the pitching, including Devers. I mean, it's just sometimes you just have to do what you have to do and trust your team and put confidence in your team. When your team, Sledge, how you doing, buddy? When your team is in first place, you do everything you have to do to keep that team in first place. Remember, the Mets are struggling a little bit. They just came off right before the All-Star break. they didn't do well against the Pirates. And then right after the All-Star break, they played the Pirates again in Pittsburgh, which I was at, unfortunately. And they lost 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. And that was leading up to the deadline. But yet they were still keeping a 3, 4, 5 game lead in the division because the Braves lost Acuna, lost Ozuna. They had no outfield. They were basically buried, basically. They were just done. And the Mets could have buried them at that point. They could have, if they would have took care of business against the Pirates before the All-Star break and after the All-Star break, they might have gotten 7, 8 games up in the division against the Braves. And maybe the Braves would have made that move against Duvall, for Duvall and Rosario to solidify that outfield that they had none. But guess what? Showing how different a front office is, who trust their team and says, hey, I'm going to give you guys and put confidence in you guys, because they still had Albies, they still had Swanson, they still had Riley, right? They still have Freeman. So what do? They put confidence in their team. They say, we're going to get you an outfield and we're going to make a run. And that's what happened. The difference with Sandy Olson, he didn't pull the trigger. He wasn't aggressive. He didn't help this team. And that's why the Mets are where they are right now. And that's the problem. And that's why the Braves are where they are right now, atop of the division. That's the problem. And I know, Bill, what you're talking about with the Rays, I don't think anybody can be the Rays, to be honest with you. The Rays have some type of different way about going about things that no other team can do. Remember, even the Yankees, Cashman even said it, and a lot of other owners, and GM said it, that they were trying to mold the model the Rays has done, and it just doesn't work out with any other team. The Rays know when to get rid of players, just like they know how to get rid of reliever arms, bullpen arms, starters, and basically fielders. They got rid of Longoria at the right time. Everybody thought they were crazy. He was basically the franchise of that team. He was basically a franchise of that team. And they got rid of Longoria and traded him to the Giants. Right? They got rid of relievers. They got rid of Snell. They got rid of David Price. And all these guys, after they left the Rays, they haven't pitched well. Snell haven't pitched well with the Padres. David Price has been a joke. I mean, it's just that simple, guys. They know when to get rid of players. That's their model. That's how they do it. These guys that are coming up to get their big contracts, they trade them right before they're any good. It's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me, guys. And the model of what the Rays have, nobody can do. So if any team, unless the only team that can do it is probably Boston, because they hired the GM of the Rays, Chaim Bloom, who knows about that model, who can probably bring that to Boston. But at the end of the day, he didn't do that with this team. He could have traded a lot of pieces in the offseason if he wanted to, because everybody was telling them that they're not good. But he kept the team. And they made 1 or 2 moves. They were small moves, but the small moves actually has been paying off. The bullpen arms they got, the 1 or 2 starters that are basically not on this team anymore, but they make them long relievers. That's what Chaim Bloom does. He could have easily traded big time guys that are coming up on contracts. Devers coming up with a big contract very soon. I doubt they're going to trade him. He's one of their best players. They traded Mookie Betts, and that was not with Chaim Bloom. Well, actually, it was. They traded Mookie Betts. The reason why they traded Mookie Betts was because they knew Mookie Betts was going to get one of the all-time biggest contracts, probably just below what Trout got. So at the time, the Red Sox weren't doing well when they traded Mookie Betts. They were rebuilding, right? They traded Mookie Betts. They had a down year. And then this year, they've been having a very, very solid year when nobody expected it. So Chaim Bloom's doing something right. So Chaim Bloom is just not selling off players like he was doing with the Rays, because they did not have a choice. When they had to get rid of somebody, Evan Longoria, they didn't have the $150 million to sign him. The same thing with David Price. The same thing with Blake Snell. Blake Snell was coming up on the contracts in about a year. They don't have the $100 million to pay him. That's why they have to make decisions. And 95% of the time, they're right. And They have a model that works. But just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You can't play that model in New York. You can't play that model in Boston. You can't. You can't play that model in most places. So it's just when you show confidence in your team, 9 out of 10 times your team's going to perform. When you show and you give reinforcements like the Braves did, because everybody, and including me, all thought the Braves were done, guys. All thought the Braves were done. No doubt about it. A lot of us did. A lot of us were worried a little bit because the Mets were never playing well all year. Their biggest win streak is 6. They didn't play well all year. And and it was just a matter of time before this team was going to fall apart. And I think all of us did. We just were hoping that nobody caught fire. And we were all wrong, and the Braves caught fire. And the Mets didn't score runs all year. They were averaging 2.5 runs a game all the way through the All-Star break. You don't win games like that. If it wasn't for great pitching by Walker, Stroman, and DeGrom when he was healthy in the first half, we would have never probably had a big lead 4 or 5 games like we had before the All-Star break came. So that's the problem, guys. So once again, guys, please hit on that like button. I'll be with you guys for another half hour until 6:30. Hit on that subscribe button, guys. If you want to make a donation to my channel, you're absolutely welcome to. No obligation, obviously, guys. But once again, guys, New York Mets broke our hearts once again. Nothing new. All I want a team, and technically this team is in contention in September, which, a lot of Met fans talk about. It would be nice if games were meaningful in September. Well, we're in the middle of September, and they were meaningful. I guess you can say that. But that's not good. I don't want that. I want sustainability. I'm not saying to make the playoffs every year. That would be nice, obviously. But could we have a winning record? Could we have being competitive and have meaningful games late in September where the last 2 series of the year mean something, which they probably might mathematically, because I don't think anybody's running away with this wild card. Like, I would not be surprised the last 6 games of the season, the Mets are probably 4 games out. I wouldn't be surprised. What does that mean? Probably nothing. But I just want, this team in our history, and a lot of you guys know this. I don't have to tell you this. The New York Mets never made the playoffs 3 years in a row. And that's with teams like the 86 Mets, who won the World Series in 86, did not play well in 87, played really well in 88, but the Dodgers got in their way. And that was it after that. Where this team, in that 86 team, should have won a World Series. 2 World Series, no doubt. 88 was their year as well. The Dodgers just, picked them off. And that was when the Mets dominated them during the season. During the season series. The Dodgers didn't win a game against the Mets. And they beat them in the playoffs. So 88 was the year where the Mets could have probably won their second championship. 69 was a miracle team. So you're not expecting them to do something after, but in 73, Oakland picked us off in the World Series. So, again, I just want, can we have 1 year or a 5-year span where we make the playoffs 4 out of 5? I'll even take 3 out of 5. That would be nice, right? We would make history. I thought we were going to do that 2006, 2007, 2008. That would have been great. I thought we were going to do it in 2015 because we looked like we had the pitching staff ready to go into 16. We had injuries. DeGrom was injured. Harvey was injured, so we only had Syndergaard really going. And a lot of injuries. We had Loney playing first base. And then after 16, 17 was the debacle. After Connor Giuseppe, we all know who he is. And after that wild card game, the Mets fell apart. And it seems like it's the model of the Mets. 2007, 2008, the Mets had basically the same team in 2006. moving a few guys here and there, but they basically had the same team. And 07-08, we choked both times to the Marlins. 7 with 17 to play. We all know that. So, I don't know, guys. Yeah, Hector, what they don't have good scouts, but it's like I said, their farm system is not bad. If you look at the guys that are on this team now, they were all on our farm system 5 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Look at the whole almost the whole team. I'll go from every position. Left field, Dominic Smith, Jeff McNeil, if you want to put both of them in left field. Center field, Brandon Nimmo. Right field, Michael Conforto. At the time, shortstop, Rosario. We had Jimenez. Alonso at first. So that's basically your whole team. Not including the pitchers. Tyler McGill, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard. David Peterson. All those guys are from our system. So either nobody knows how to rank out our minor league system, because let's be honest, McNeil wasn't a top ranked prospect, but he came around. Obviously, people thought he was going to be better than what he is right now. Dominic Smith, the same thing, wasn't a high top prospect, but they thought he was going to be okay. Conforto was a top prospect. Nimmo was a middle level prospect. Rosario was our number one prospect. Everybody thought he was going to be lights out, be one of the best shortstops in the game. Alonso wasn't really a big prospect, but he made himself into a top 5 prospect. So all these guys are in the majors. So everybody, and this is not just Met fans, this is a lot of teams across the league, when they're like, oh, we don't have a good farm system. But then you look at their team, and 6 out of the 8 guys in their lineup are guys who were in their minor league system, that came up from their minor league system. So I hate when people say that. And Hector, I agree that the scouting should be better. But a lot of this whole team is basically guys who came up from our minor league system, who were 10 games over 500 in 2019, that just missed out on the playoff of the wild card berth. 2020 is a fluke year. I'm not going to go crazy on that. This year, they fell apart. But it's just everybody had a bad year on this Mets team, and the front office did not help this team enough. So, we got to see what Cohen does. He's making moves in this. He makes a lot of moves with the analytical department. They changed a lot of scouts. When Cohen took ownership, a lot of scouts have changed over. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how the draft goes as well. We just got to wait and see. We already, this team, got made a pick that they couldn't even sign, and this guy's arm was falling apart. Kumar Rocker, and they didn't sign him, but yet they took him when nobody else did, and everybody thought it was a steal, and they didn't sign him because of his medicals. So already under the Cohen era, the first draft looked kind of bad. Yes, they get an extra pick because they didn't sign their draft pick, Kumar Rocker. They get 2 picks next year at that slot. But it's like, that's already a bad sign. And that's under Alderson, by the way. And I thought, listen, every college pitcher, I can assure you, has damage to his shoulder and elbow. Every one of them. And I don't know why the Mets, they put him, if you didn't want to take him, clearly other teams weren't taking him that high. You could have taken him early in the second round. But if they were so concerned about the signing bonus, they could have took him in the second round, because nobody was going to take him. There was a lot of teams that passed up on him before the Mets took him. So people were a little scared of his arm. But if you were so concerned about the signing bonus, you could have took him in the second round and everything would have been fine. You would have signed him, no problem. And you could have took somebody else in that first round that you could have easily signed with better medicals. But they didn't do that under Alderson. Another problem. Yes, exactly. we get the 11th pick, and we also get another pick. That's great for next year, for this year or next year's draft. But it's just, I just, it's not like they didn't have their medicals, right? You can't get their medicals until you take that picture. You get a little bit, because no agent is going to give medicals to teams to a college player because they're not obligated to until the team drafts them. So the Mets didn't know, but there was a lot of word of mouth amongst teams. How did 9 other teams who could have took Rocker didn't take him, and the Mets did at that slot, knowing that it was going to be a big time signing bonus? When you could have took somebody else, you could have took a position player who was, or another pitcher who was almost, because remember, all the reports with Kumar Rocker was basically, they were talking about him coming up this year and help the Mets rotation, and definitely next year. So it was that big of a pick that people thought the Mets were actually going to bring him up and help this rotation with all the injuries that we had, or definitely bring him next year into spring training and probably make the team. So I don't know what the Mets are thinking. I mean, they clearly had to hear the news that everybody else heard about this guy's arm or shoulder. But what does that tell you? Is he going to sign next year with a team? He's going to be fine because somebody's going to pick him up. Maybe the Mets even might take him. He'll probably go play in winter ball because he can't go back to college because he already hired an agent, so we can't go back to college, which I think is a stupid rule, but that's besides the point. That's not our problem. And it's oh boy, it's just let's just see what the Mets do. Let's see their front office. Maybe things will change. We'll just hope. Let me get to your other comments, guys. I'll be with you guys for another 15 minutes. International scouting is good, Hector. I absolutely agree about that. Bill, we have to be consistent. That's the other issue. Yeah, Sledge, I agree. This was kind of, as much as the Mets were in first place and, a new era of Mets baseball with Cohen owning the team, Cohen is learning on the job too. He realized that hiring people and letting them do their jobs doesn't always work. He had to have more say in what happened during the deadline for sure, and during off season for sure. He didn't. It was that simple. Because the only reason why Alderson made that Baez move was because Met fans put a tremendous amount of pressure on him on social media, and Cohen put pressure on Alderson to make a big move. That was the only reason why he made that move. Alderson would have never made that move. He would have made the Rich Hill move and maybe got another back at the end starting pitcher. Maybe. That's all he would have done. So, Baez has been good for us, but I just want consistency. Let's see what, and I don't want to give everything away because I will be doing a video soon, but people want Theo Epstein, right? It's pretty common over the chat and the last couple of live streams I had that people want Theo Epstein. That's great. But why would Theo Epstein was the vice president and GM of the Red Sox when he was, when he was winning those championships, right? Vice president and GM. So that means he was basically number 2 and 3 on the totem pole. So there was president, vice president, GM. So he was both of those. He was 2 and 3, right? He went to the Cubs. He was the president of baseball operations as the Cubs. He had a GM under him and then the owner above him. So he was basically number 2. Good. I'm going to ask you this question. Why would Theo Epstein take a president of baseball operations position when he left the position that he had with the Cubs, which is the same position, president of baseball operations, and left to be in the MLB offices, to be an MLB executive? Why would he work under Alderson and not have complete control. If we were going to have a chance at Theo Epstein, unless Cohen gives him an outrageous amount of money, which I don't think he's going to do, Theo Epstein wants to be the president of the team. That's it. It's that simple. So our hopes for Theo Epstein, I think, is 50-50 at best. You know who I think is going to be the Mets GM? I'm going to keep that for my video. But if you've seen the candidates, if you see the candidates that is out there, the Brewers GM, Epstein, Billy Bean, there's other ones. I probably just threw it out there, but those are the main candidates that we know of right now that the Mets are trying to talk to last year, but it was so close to the season that nobody wanted us to speak to their guys. So, not only does Major League Baseball have a big collective bargaining agreement to figure out, the Mets have a front office to figure out, probably flipping so many players in and out of this team. They have so much to think about. But the biggest concern, when I heard the reports that Cohen is keeping Alderson for 2022 as the president of the Mets, made me believe that the Mets are probably going to try to throw money at Theo Epstein, but I don't see Theo Epstein taking the same position he left in Chicago to take the same position with the New York Mets, even if it is for more money. I don't think Theo Epstein wants to do that because he could have just stayed with the Cubs and make a lot of money. He was making like $12 million per year being a player of baseball operations, president of baseball operations. He's not going to take the same position. So that's why I said, get rid of Alderson, make Theo Epstein the president of the New York Mets, let him hire a president of baseball operations. Wouldn't it be nice to have Theo Epstein? I forgot the guy's name on Milwaukee, but he's one of the big time names in front offices right now for the Brewers, who I think will be a great president of baseball operations guy. Have him president of baseball operations guy, and let him hire a GM. I like that ladder as a number 1 and number 2 guy. But now I think it's 50-50 that we're going to get Theo Epstein. I think before we heard that news about Alderson staying, I thought it was like 80-20. Now it's like 50-50. And thank you, Hayden. David Stearns. Now, I don't know if David Stearns would want to be a GM still. I think he wants to get promoted, which is another problem. Now, the Mets are going to try to God, this team's so crazy. This team is so backwards. The Mets are going to interview Theo Epstein to be president of baseball operations. So what are you going to tell David Stearns? You're going to say, hey, we're going to hire you. We're going to interview you for president of baseball operations, but we want Theo Epstein. So can you be the GM? They're not going to do that. David Stern is not going to leave a nice situation in Milwaukee where he's doing a great job to come to the New York Mets to be scrutinized on every move you make to be the GM. He wants to be the president of baseball operations. So now the Mets are in a conundrum now. Will Theo Epstein accept the position of president of baseball operations and the Mets throw a lot of money at him and he takes it, being under Alderson? Or do they go right after David Stearns and say, listen, we want you to be the president of baseball operations, which is basically a promotion from what he's doing right now. So you do that, get Stearns, now you have to worry about a GM, which Theo Epstein will not be a GM. So it's just that simple. So the Mets put themselves in a spot now where they basically have to lie to their candidates that they want to hire because they screwed up this whole Alderson thing and keeping them around. Now, if you would have cleaned house, now there's a little incentive to Theo Epstein and say, hey, damn, I could be the president of the New York Mets and I can pick my own guy as president of baseball operations and let him collaborate with me to pick a GM. That's what I like. That's exactly what I like, guys. But once again, the damn New York Mets like to do everything backwards, and they take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. So we gotta wait and see. Yeah, Hector. I'm sorry, Disco. Yeah, it's New York is bigger than Chicago for sure, but nobody in their right mind is going to leave the Cubs when he was making 11, $12 million a year to take less money and go to the MLB front offices in Theo Epstein. He could have just stayed there and collected his money, and he didn't do that because he wanted to be president of the Cubs, and the owner said, "No, no, 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 I'm not letting you have that," and he left. So I don't see why Theo Epstein would want to take the same position with the New York Mets when he has somebody under him. Theo Epstein is a control freak. He wants to run everything. That's simple, guys. Carlos, good leadership. Baez, no. He doesn't have a good attitude. He is not a leader. He is a leader of Francisco Lindor. That's about it. Soto, I'm not worried about Soto. Soto got many years to go before he's a free agent. Correa is not going to be on the Mets. I'm telling you this right now. You might have this whole Puerto Rican connection, which is freaking awesome, by the way. And like I said, I love that. That connection is awesome because I think it means something to Diaz that the Mets got Lindor, even though he still sucks. But I think Baez means a lot to Lindor. And I think Baez became a better hitter and more selective because of Lindor. And they talked about that. But if Baez can be the guy he's been in his last 20 games, I have no problem if the Mets sign him. But is he going to regress back to the guy he was with the Cubs and striking out every other at bat? Because that's the guy I don't want. I love him defensively. I worry about him offensively. And I don't think he is a good leader. I don't know where you got that from, honestly. But he is a good leader with Lindor. Like I said, if you remember back when Baez made that great run when Conforto got the base hit and he basically passed the stop sign and came home and he saw the left fielder bobble the ball and won the game. You saw Lindor, Edwin Diaz, Taijuan Walker all run to Baez to celebrate when McNeil and Alonso ran to Conforto. Who got the big hit? Michael Conforto, right? Okay, it's hard to imagine the guy who got the big hit is the one who should be celebrated, not the guy who ran the bases, who was just doing his job, who's just doing what he's supposed to do. That shows a divide in the clubhouse. I'm telling you right now. There's 2 clicks, and me and Hayden talked about this on the stream that we did a week ago. We talked about this 2 clicks, and I Hayden, I know you agree with that because we talked about it. It was Lindor, Baez, Diaz, Walker. And if you want to throw somebody else in there, fine. It was those guys and Stroman. Then you got, on the other side, McNeil, Alonso, J.D. Davis, and Brandon Nimmo. That was the 2 clicks that you noticed in that game. Right away, the celebration. 1 click went to Baez. 1 click went to Conforto. And I'm not saying anybody's right about that. Both of these clicks are wrong. But you can't have that within the clubhouse. You just can't, guys. Absolutely can't. That's a problem. And you know what? Lindor started all of this when he punched McNeil earlier in the season. That whole raccoon nonsense. Lindor clearly hit McNeil inside the tunnel of the dugout. That's basically what happened. And ever since then, Lindor and McNeil never going to be good tandems, good partners at second and short. And obviously, your double play up the middle, your up the middle guys have to be a family, have to be on the same page. These guys were never on the same page. And that's why, even though Baez has been good, you put a bigger wedge, and that's all they talked about. Alderson, Scott, Cohen, they all talked about chemistry. But yet they went to get Lindor's best friend in Baez, who is going to take McNeil's position. Granted, McNeil wasn't playing well, so he didn't deserve his position. But at the end of the day, you were getting a rental player and making him take McNeil's position, who is still supposedly going to be on this team because he's still on the contract after this year. That's not a way to do business. It's not the way to do it. I'm sorry. It's just not the way you do business, guys. Absolutely a joke. And that's the other problem. You can't preach chemistry and get Baez because he's Lindor's friend, and the only move you were able to make because you weren't aggressive was Baez because he was the last one left available, because the Giants swooped up Chris Bryant. And you had to make a move because you had to make a big move because you got nervous because the fans got pressure on you and Cohen gave pressure on you. So you made that decision based off a friend of Baez and an owner who was pressuring you. You just don't do that. Yeah, Hector, you're right. And you know what? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's not just the barrier of Latinos and the white boys. I could say that. Why not, right? I am white. I'm white as you can get. So, the Latinos, or you can say the Latinos and the whites, right? That's fine. That's cool. You know what? Look, that happens in every dugout. You're always going to have the Latin American players connect because of the language. That's fine. That's cool. Like I said, 75%, probably 80% of Major League Baseball is Latin American. So it's no shock there. But you've seen the divide, and it was that obvious. When the whole thumbs down thing happened, who were the guys backing these guys up? Stroman, Walker, Diaz didn't say much, but he backed it up as well. Kevin Pillar was the only one that was like back and forth with everything. He was giving thumbs down, but he also was doing the chirp and everything else. And it's just that crazy. So it's just that simple. And look, Hector, we went to high school together. You know about the baseball team. It was me, Velarde. What was there? 2 white guys on the team. Everybody else was Spanish. Baez, Martinez, all those guys. They were almost everybody was Latin American. They were Latinos. It's just that simple. If you play baseball in New York, Florida, California, Texas, there's a pretty good shot you're gonna have 85% Latinos on your team. It's not the point of having the clicks. It's the point when clearly who you should be celebrating, even though Baez made a great play, Baez would have never had that opportunity if Conforto didn't get to hit the left field. So when a guy gets the big hit, you run after him. You celebrate with him. And Baez joins the pack after he touches home. So you see that there. And you notice that in the dugout. Everybody has clicks. It's just that simple. It's just what baseball is. You have your clicks. You're not going to like everybody, most likely. That's okay. But there was a rift between Lindor and McNeil very early in the season. And the Mets chose to take a position away from McNeil, even though McNeil got playing time, but that's only because Dominic Smith has been playing bad. Because if Dominic Smith, was playing well, McNeil would be on the bench, not Dominic Smith. So we all noticed it, Hayden. We talked about it. You know what I'm saying? It was during that Marlins game, it was that obvious when the Mets came from 4 runs down. the celebration, that was the first thing I noticed. I was so happy that the Mets, I was shocked. I was live when it happened. I was shocked when it happened. I mean, I had no words. And it's just insane. And and it was a great win. Yet all anybody can talk about, and it was on Twitter too. A lot of people I follow were saying the same thing. I don't know. I might have retweeted something, Hayden. You might have remember. I retweeted something when somebody said, "Wow, did you see the celebration? You had Lindor, Diaz, Walker, and Stroman run to Baez celebrating, and you saw Pete Alonso, Nimmo, Conforto. I'm sorry, and Davis all run the Conforto at second base, and everybody noticed it. And it's just that obvious. You can't have that. And the front office, who preached chemistry, did not do a damn thing to make it better. They made it worse. That's the only reason why I worry about Baez, is because now if you're gonna now the problem with getting rid of McNeil, getting rid of Dominic Smith, is that you're getting them at you're getting rid of them and you're trading them based on when they're not at their highest level. So you're not going to get as much back. The only reason why you might get a team that says, "Oh, I think Dominic Smith's going to be good. We need a first baseman," and McNeil and Dominic Smith have a couple of more years of control, which is very enticing to a lot of teams. But there's not a lot of teams that's going to give you a lot because their value is not that high anymore because of their terrible season. So the Mets lost out on that situation as well. Even though during the year, McNeil still had value. That's why he was in so many trade talks, even Dominic Smith. And that's the problem. I honestly think there's one out of the three, and Sledge just put it up right here. Before I go, guys, Sledge, McNeil, Smith, and Davis. I think 2 out of the 3 are gone. And if I had to pick one, I do think McNeil is going to be a one to stay. Only because I think there's still lightning in the bottle there. I think McNeil just has to make a few adjustments where he can be a 300-plus hitter again, which the Mets need. Smith is not a left fielder. I'm sorry. He's being wasted in left field. He still has problems in left field. He's not hitting good enough to play every day. That's why he's not playing every day. And J.D. Davis is on the bench. He's just basically a pinch hitter at this point. Basically, VR took his job and never gave it back to him. So J.D. Davis is done. Dominic Smith is done, in my opinion. I will do a video about that as well and why I think those guys are going to be gone and who's going to replace them. I got guys for that, and you guys know the names. I've been preaching it every day, so I'm not going to say it again because it's just redundant at this point. But, guys, it's been a pleasure. Hector, I'll see you in about an hour and 10 minutes. Oh, guys, let me plug in our channel. So me and Hector are doing a football channel as well that we're going live tonight during the Giants and Redskins, Giants and Washington game. I'm going to put the name of, actually I should just put the link. That should be easy. Let me get the link. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Thank you, Master. If anybody's a football fan, me and Hector, who is right here, I'm gonna pull his comment up. Me and Hector are doing a football channel. We do NFL picks of the week. We pick the teams. We pick games against the spread, and we also give our survivor pool pick. And we also go live during Sunday night games, Thursday night games. We're gonna decide what we're gonna do there. But if you guys want to subscribe to our channel, please do. I'm gonna put the link up just now. If I can figure that out in a second. Sorry, guys. Just give me like 2 minutes. Okay. There we go. Give me a second, guys. All right, there we go. Let me just... Already? Perfect. Oh, actually, I should just do this. Makes more sense. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. I'm just getting the stream up. Already. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Okay, perfect. All right, so guys, I'm gonna put the the chat. Sorry, the link in the chat. If you guys want to join in, be happy to. There you go, guys. So that's the link to our stream tonight, our live stream. If you're a football fan, please subscribe to the channel. If you want to tune in, you're welcome to. Giants, freaking Washington. I keep on saying the Redskins. Not sure what I should be doing. Giants versus Washington tonight. Me and him are going to be there throughout the game. So if you want to tune in, if you're a football fan, please subscribe to our channel. We do weekly picks every week against the spread, and we do our survivor pool pick as well. So hopefully you guys check it out. I really do appreciate it. And hey, let's go Mets, I guess. So thank you so much, Master. Everybody who just tuned in, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Talk of Mets with Rob. I really do appreciate it. Hit on that like button, guys, so everybody can see the replay of the stream. Hector, I will see you in about an hour from now. Guys, if you want to tune in, the link is there. Please subscribe to the channel. If you can't come to the stream tonight, that's okay, but we post a video every Thursday with our picks. Check it out. I really do appreciate it, guys. I'll see you guys next time. As always, Met fans, let's go Mets. Have a good night, guys.